to realize that Solomon's perspective in Ecclesiastes is really a temporal perspective as he looks at life that we are living here under the sun, what this world for us is like. In verses 1 through 11 last week, we talked about how life is chaotic. It's confusing, and I won't go into all that we talked about there. But in verse 11, where we'll start reading today, he states what he is doing with the chaos of this world. Who would say that life is chaotic? It's confusing. The things come at us at all different angles. And he gives us, let me ask this, the chaos of life, do you think he doesn't know about that? Do you think he didn't allow that to happen in life? I tell you that he did, and it's part of the overall plan that he has for each of us. In verse 11, here's what he says about that. And I'm going to read through the end of the chapter, so I'll have quite a bit of reading. After all the chaos, he hath made everything beautiful in his time. Also he hath set the world in their heart, so that no man can find out the work that God maketh from the beginning to the end. He's saying, listen, we think we can reason out what's going on, why it went on. We can't figure that out. Verse 12, I know that there is no good in them, but for a man to rejoice and to do good in his life. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it, that man should fear before him. And that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requireth that which is past. Verse 16, and moreover, I saw under the sun. Let me ask you really fast. What did I convey that under the sun meant? Does anybody remember? I'm sorry? Yeah, it's just everything that happens on the earth. It's everything that we deal with temporally. And where am I at? Verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there. And the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. And I said in mine heart, God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that God might manifest them, and we'll talk about that more specifically later on, and that they might see that they themselves are beast. Man, he's calling us beast. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beast. Even one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man hath no preeminence above a beast. For all is vanity. In verse 20, and I go into one place, and all are of the dust, and all return to dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth? Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own work, for that is his portion. For who shall bring him to see what shall be after him? Everything that God has made, everything that God has allowed to be, he has taken the fall of man and is using it for his purpose and his will. He takes the frailties that we have in life, the problems, our inefficiencies, the issues that we have. He takes those and uses them for his will. If he didn't, he would only be able to use perfect men, right? And there are no perfect men. Ignore that comment, Linda. There are no perfect men. She knows that all too well. He has taken the sin that controls the reins of our heart and even uses that to fulfill the perfect will and his purpose in life. He uses all this bad to complete his purpose and his will under the sun. His purpose and will is not hampered by human inabilities. But listen to this. His purpose and His will is not hampered by our abilities. There's nothing that we can do to improve on His purpose and His will. Do you see that? Do you understand that? We often think, I have to be just this to help fulfill the will of God. That's absolutely not right. We think that we need to have and do everything to the nth degree to help God fulfill what He has in life. Solomon is simply saying that's not the case. Everything we see under the sun, in time, He is going to make perfect. Did you write that song? In His time, He. Do you know who wrote that? I kept thinking about that song as I was studying that this week. In His time, He will deliver me. In His time, He'll show me the way. Very bad singing, but the point is this. I told y'all the example last week about when I was taking flying lessons. And when I got up in the air, I just think it's a great example for how God sees things and how we see things. The Thompsons are living in South Haven now. And you ever drive down Goodman Road in 5 o'clock traffic? It is chaotic. And it's light after light, and traffic can get infuriating. I can't stand traffic. But it gets infuriating until I was flying. I was flying the plane. And I started looking at the sequence of lights. This one turns red, and it turns green, and this one turns green just at the right time. And the next one turns green just at the right time. And I saw it from a different perspective of life, that there is order in the chaos. And the cross-trafficking was ordered just right. That's what God is saying in these first few verses, verse 11 and verse 12, that even in the chaos where we're battling the traffic and we're battling the things of life, and it seems like I can't figure it out and this just isn't right, He is looking above, and it's happening just like He intended it to happen. I hope that makes sense. At work, we don't in life have to figure everything out to the nth degree, to analyze everything in life. At work, they believe that every decision that is made about the functioning of the business is only made correctly by using data. And they take the data and they think, okay, the probability of this being the right decision based upon the data, so this is what we should do because it has the highest probability of success, and that this is going to solve the problem. This is what they thought until a worldwide pandemic hit. And all the data and all their figuring, God just sort of threw a monkey wrench into man's reasoning of life. Do y'all follow that? Do y'all see that happening? You know, God shows, and He's shown people in the world that we're living in today, that He doesn't need to calculate the odds of success for His will to be done. He is the odds maker. He is the one that determines events to come, regardless of its likelihood or failure. I think, let me ask you this question. Is God in control of everything that's happening today? Even the pandemic, even when we have a government that says you must get a shot, is God involved with all that? Or has He lost control? He is in control in this chaos. I love the fact that I can look to Him to solve problems of life. But this is an issue. We get aggravated in the chaos of life. You know why? Because we, Jeff and you, we have so much of this world's thinking in our hearts. We often think just like the world. we think that it's up to us to figure out the problems of life rather than leaving it into His hands. We are often in our thinking more aligned with the world system than God's system. And it's just the truth. I'll tell you how the world thinks. I was flying from Memphis to LA. Had to be, 15 years ago. And do y'all realize and know that in the desert Southwest, there's sand dunes? Do y'all know that? There are sand, it looks like the Sahara Desert. I mean, there are huge sand dunes out there. But as I was flying over that sand dune, I noticed something. Where the sand butts up to an elevation that's rising, it looks like a beach where water has receded. You can't look at what I saw and not realize that used to be a beach. There's no other logical explanation. You know how a beach looks as the water comes up and goes back and it starts receding. It was a beach. Why would scientists look at that and not say, right in the middle of that desert, there used to be a beach? I believe that beach, that receding beach, was from after the flood. But they can't look at that and admit that because too much of the world is in their heart. That would make them say, the Bible and God is right. So they have to come up with another reason. I'm telling you this. I think in many areas of life, we Christians have too much of the world in our thinking. It is incumbent upon us to look at what God says and strictly believe and trust Him and not look to our own worldly thinking. I think the world has not only gained the possession of the hearts of men, the world has gained and helped us form thoughts against the beauty of His work and the intent of His will for our life. I think most Christians, Jeff included, and almost everybody else, our desire in this life is not to find out what He has for us. It's to find out what I can get out of this world, what this world can do for me. It's a mistake if we think that we are born in this world to do for ourselves. We are in this world to do His will, to do good for Him, and we see that in verse number 13. Look at verse number 13. And also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy the good of all his labor. It is the gift of God. Also, the first part of verse 13, and also that every man should eat and drink. It is the gift of God. I think this enforces and intensifies the previous verse. Not only has God given us the power to do good, to do right, which He wants us to do, but even to enjoy what comes from the process of what He gives us. In 1980, does anybody know Carl Hatch? Just a few of you know Carl Hatch. Carl Hatch was an evangelist. He's dead now. He used to come to our church in Anchorage, Alaska every year. And every year he would go on a radio show. It was one of these talk shows, and he would go on there every year. And inevitably, there was an antagonist that would call in, inevitably. And he would blast Carl Hatch. And he says, Mr. Hatch, I know that you, as a preacher, are wearing $300 cowboy boots. It was the same story every year. Back then, $300 cowboy boots in 1980 was a lot of money. I don't know what it'd be equivalent to today, but a lot of money. I know that you wear, and his insinuation was that Carl Hatch is in it for the money. This is why you are a preacher. And Carl Hatch, he was much wiser than I would have been. He said, young man, my God has taken care of me. How's your God doing? And the guy clicked, hung up. What Carl Hatch was simply saying, I have worked hard. God has blessed me. What I possess is the gift of God. What Jeff possesses and what you possess, our daily bread, our daily needs, what he has provided to us is his gift. And God says, enjoy it. Enjoy what he has given. You know, we profit physically in this world by what he provides us, what he gives to us. You and me did not earn that on our own. We think, I said earlier, we get tied up in the world's thinking. We often think that I have what I have because of my hard work and my diligence and my efforts and my intellect. And I tell you, Solomon here is saying, no, it is a gift of God. Whether you have much or whether you have little, it was a gift provided by God Almighty. Proverbs 37, 25. I have been young and now am old. Did I say Proverbs? Psalms 37, 25. I have been young and now am old. Yet have I not seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. God will take care of Jeff. And God will take care of Heather. God will take care of us. And the things that he's provided is the gift of God, provided by God Almighty. The bread that you eat, the job that you have, Autumn, was provided by God Almighty. You didn't get that because of the abilities that you have. It's what he provided as part of his purpose and his will in your life. We need to see clearly that the blessings that we have in life don't come because of us. They come because of him. It is the gift of God. And therefore, we should have comfort and satisfaction in his divine providence because this is unfolding. The whole gamut of life, everything under the sun is unfolding because of his purpose and his will. God does all this. He provides for me and for you for his glory because of who he is. And he does this, it says in verse 14, that men should fear before him. Do you fear God? I asked myself this question this week. Do I fear God? Look at verse 14. I know that whatsoever God doeth, it shall be forever. Nothing can be put to it, nor anything taken from it. And God doeth it. Notice that phrase, God doeth it, that men should fear before him. All of God's counsel, all his decree, all of those things are eternal and unchangeable. The plan for my life, the plan for our lives are in alignment with his ultimate desire and his purpose for this life. Rachel, you got that job as a teacher because that fits God's purpose in life. As Rachel was looking for that job, I imagine it felt chaotic in life. I've got interviews. Man, I don't know what I'm going to do. Man, I hope I did good. He knew the day you were born what you would be doing in November of 2021. It fits his purpose and his will. Roy, he knows what you're going to do with your life. You and every one of us need to trust him and pursue what he wants for us so that his ultimate purpose and will be completed. God's will will be done. Period. It will be done. That's what Solomon is saying. Now, I'm not saying, now don't take me wrong. I am not saying that we shouldn't be seeking for what's God's will for us and what we should be doing for Him. But I am saying that regardless of if we dot every I and cross every T, or we forget to dot the I's and cross the T's, His purpose and His will be done. Do we understand that? He is omniscient, He's omnipotent, and His will be done. Now, He does want us involved. I love Wednesday night class with Brother Mike Williams, Experiencing God. And what Brother Mike is talking about is us looking to see what God is doing in this world, everything under the sun, and then run to it to get involved and do it. That is what Brother Mike is teaching, and he's 100% right about that. That's what God wants us to do. He wants us involved. And you know what? He will reward us in this life as we're involved. I'm not saying He'll necessarily reward us financially, but He will reward us in many areas with peace and contentment and happiness and joy, things that money can't buy. He will reward that. But His will be done. It will be done. The next part of that verse, I think that's, 14, I think it was. God doeth it that man should fear before Him. I love my grandfather. My grandfather died in 1975. What would that make him? 47 this coming year. Been dead 47 years. I love my grandfather, but he was a serious man. He dropped out of school in the 5th grade to go, that would have been in about 1906, 1907, to go help support the family. And he went to work at what was known then as the Memphis Streetcar Company, buggies with horses on it. It became the bus company downtown. But it started off as a streetcar company with carriages and horses. He went to work there after the 5th grade to help support the family. He was a very serious man. I got to tell you, when my grandfather told me something, I feared him. Really not in a debilitating way. I'm not saying that. But when he spoke, yes, sir. We need to fear God. I think we've become disengaged and disconnected from the reality of who God is. He is the creator of everything that we see. And all that He does, this verse says, all that He does is so that men will fear Him. I pray that we do. We should fear Him by considering all of His great power. We should understand that in the disposition, the happening of all the events of life, He is in control. We should learn to trust Him, to submit to Him, to fear Him, to honor Him, and I believe to study Him more carefully. We will then begin to truly see the hand of God in our life. I've thought about this. I'm glad he's not here today, to be honest with you, because I wanted to say this. I've thought about Brother Mike. How does a man begin to see the handwork of God in every aspect of his life? Mike sees that. Why does Mike see that? I believe he sees it because he intentionally fears Him. He's in awe of Him. And he knows that His hand is in the events and happenings of his life. I have to be honest with you. I don't enough. I need to fear Him more and realize He is in control of every event of my life, period, without fail. He knew that Philip would hurt his leg. He knew that. He had that as part of His purpose for some reason in your life. And I could say that about every one of us. He has not lost control of this world at all. Not at all. He is still fully in control. And somehow He uses my free will within the grand plan of this whole universe. How He does that, I don't know. I don't understand it. I can't even begin to understand it. But I know He does that. He can take disparate free wills and work every one of them to make it beautiful in His time. And that is exactly what He's doing. The next part of that verse. And He that which is to be hath already been. You know, the things of life, all Solomon is saying here are very cyclical. He's saying that there's a rotation of events that happen over and over and over. You know the problems that you have today in life? Christina, the problems that you have in life are not unique to you. They happened to a 17-year-old girl a century ago. The things that you worry about, they were worried about then. It's that which is to be hath already been. And there's nothing unique about the issues of life that we face that haven't been faced many times over the millennium. In other words, I'll suffice it to say this for time's sake. There's nothing new under the sun. And Solomon says that over and over and over again. The verse ends with saying, God requireth that which is past. The things that have gone and finished are irrecoverably gone. But we'll see it rise again. Verse 16. And moreover, I saw under the sun. What does under the sun mean? I'm sorry? Yeah, things that are happening in the world. I saw under the sun the place of judgment, that wickedness was there, and the place of righteousness, that iniquity was there. I love that phrase, and this shows how different I am, I think. That phrase, and moreover. That seems so inconsequential. And moreover, he's saying, hey, there's another thing I need to tell you. There's one more thing I need to tell you. That I saw under the sun the place of judgment. I saw the things that hurt and are not right going against you in life. I saw all of it. I saw the problems that you face in life. I don't think we have to look any further about the place of judgment in life than look at where our country is today, where people just can't judge rightly. Whether it's a Congress or a president, there are pastors in this world that just can't judge rightly. And they are not just. What does being just mean? Who knows? Roy, what does being just mean? Fair, yeah, and even more definitive, meaning in alignment with God's thinking. That's ultimate true justice, is what God thinks is right is right. We can all have different opinions, but just is thinking about right and wrong how God thinks about right and wrong. There are principalities, there are magistrates who will not judge right. You know, I think this whole COVID thing it just infuriates me. But I am not putting my hope that a Supreme Court will rule right. They may be just, but I know within the hearts of men, the best of men, it talks about the righteous having iniquity. The best of men will judge unjustly at times. For us to think that people will always judge us right is foolishness, because men will not. The wicked, let me look at that verse again. What verse was that? 16, I think. And moreover, I started to understand the place of judgment, the wickedness was there. That in judgment on this earth, you will have times where you will be judged incorrectly. Oh, I didn't do that. I was not involved. There will be times where you were judged wrongly, even by good people. It says, with the righteous there is iniquity. In their heart, they cannot judge rightly every single time because of the sin nature and who we are. But I love verse 17. I said in mine heart, God shall judge. There's going to be a time on this earth, and be past this earth, the great white throne and the judgment seat of Christ, where God is going to make everything right. The areas where you were judged incorrectly, the areas where you were taken advantage of, God at some point is going to make all of that right. Continuing verse 17. God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there's a time there for every purpose and for every work. I said in mine heart concerning the estates of men, that God might manifest them. What is that meaning, that God might manifest them? Any thoughts about that from anybody? I'm going to try to start doing something a little different in Sunday school. I had somebody say, I miss the times when we were in the other room where we could ask questions. I want to begin implementing that again here so that you can do that. But back to God might manifest. What does he mean by that? God will eventually show us the reason for all the disorder that we face today. He's going to make it known to us, make it manifest in life. Why? Let me give you something that's been manifested in my life. Grew up in a home where my mom and dad fought like cats and dogs. I'm telling you, it was not fun. Showed me why I had to put up with that. We don't fight because of that. Never have, never will. But he has manifested it to me to show me how I can empathize and help with others who have been through that as well. What is he manifesting in your life with the difficulties and problems that you have faced in life? If you're listening, he's showing us. And when we're in fear of him and in awe of him, like Brother Mike Williams, we begin to see it more clearly. That's what he's saying in verse number 18. I said in mine heart concerning these, that they might see that they themselves are beasts. As he began to manifest in my life, and I began to see him more clearly, and I have a long way to go to see him clearly. Please understand that. As I began to see him more clearly, something happened about my view of myself. I saw him clearly, and it made me see who I really am. I'm just a wicked beast, is what Solomon says. And I need him more than anything in life. It begins to change our perspective, and we begin seeing not through a worldly view that we all have, but we begin to see through the eyes of the Spirit of God about things that really are and how life really, really is. For time's sake, let's go to verse number 19. For that which befalleth the sons of man befalleth beast. Even one thing befalleth them. As the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man hath no preeminence above the beast. He's just saying, listen, we will have the same things happen on this earth, in this temporal world, no different than the beast. Now, he's not saying that we're just like animals eternally. He's saying on this planet, as we live under the sun, as we fight the same things of life, we're all going to die. You're going to die. I don't know who the youngest person in here is. I think it's Naomi, the youngest person in this room. I hope Naomi, I wish you would live 150 years, Naomi. I do. But she's going to die. Just like it befalls the beast, it befalls me. And the youngest among us. 62, I don't know, man. I pray the Lord will give me 20 more years. I don't know that. But I'm going to go back to the dust one day. I told you about my grandfather earlier. He's been dead 47 years. I imagine if I went and opened his casket today, I couldn't recognize his body. I imagine it was decayed. That's what Solomon is saying here. He's trying to show us what life is really about. Verse number 20 and 21. All go unto one place. All are of the dust, and all turn to dust again. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth down the earth? He's saying, listen, the world, there's no difference. They don't even think about eternity. I pray that our heart and life is more focused on eternity and eternal things than on the temporal things of life. I pray as Christians, that's how we think. But the world doesn't think like that. They think about this life, and then it's done. It's over with. So I need to eat, drink, and be merry and do all that I want to do because this is all there is. Solomon's saying that's the way of the world. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward and the spirit of the beast that goeth down to the earth? You know, at work, they are constantly talking about developing 5-year plans. They asked me the other day to fill out something that shows what my future desires were in regards to the position I'm currently in. And I just wrote back one word: retire. And I sent it back. That's all I said. And, foolishness. But they're always thinking about how we plan for the future. And I think that has inculcated into our Christian thinking as well. What's my next step? How can I grow and get a better position? How can I get more? If we're honest, we think like that because we have the world's thinking in our mind. Verse 21, and I'll be done. Verse 22, and I'll be done. Wherefore I perceive that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his own work. Look at me for a minute. Here's what he's saying. Whatever God has given you to do, rejoice in the work that he has given. Learn to work and enjoy it. Not that you're moving to another position, not that you're making extra money. Learn to enjoy what he has given you to do in life, period. Do we? I got to tell you, that's one I struggle with because I do think about retirement a lot. Don't I, Roy? Think about it a lot. But Solomon's saying, there is nothing better. Let me read it again. I perceive that there is nothing better than a man should rejoice in his own work. For that is his portion. Temporally in life, that's the portion that God has given us. He is in control, and his purpose and will has been met with the job that you have today. If it's a housewife, that's the job that he has for you today. Enjoy it. If it's a teacher, that's the job that he has for you today. Enjoy it. Rather than, mankind is like this. If I can ever get to that point, I'm going to be happy. If I can ever get married, I'm going to be happy. If I can ever get, you fill in the blank. God saying, no, got it all wrong. You're thinking like the world. Wherever you are right now, That's your portion. Enjoy it. We're dismissed.